Before going into the topic details, I want to bring your attention to the UPSC coaching programs offered by ClearIAS. ClearIAS offers online and offline courses to help candidates get selected for prestigious government services like IAS, IPS, or IFS. ClearIAS Prelims Cum Mains (PCM) course provides a highly effective study plan, well-organized subject-wise videos, study materials, mock exams, and guidance to cover the entire GS syllabus of UPSC CSE prelims, mains, and interview systematically. As a limited period offer, there is a 40% discount on our online courses. Enroll now.
Right. So the Global Cybersecurity Index is one of the important topics which we have to study. So this Global Cybersecurity Index 2024 was actually released by International Telecommunication Union, ITU. If you can see the logo, actually, it is actually International Telecommunication Union, like International Telecommunication Union. And why we are stressing the International Telecommunication Union? It is one of the 15 specialized agencies of the United Nations. So it is a United Nations report. That is the point which we are raising. So whenever such agencies like United Nations is actually releasing a report, automatically it becomes very important for us. So we'll look into what the data of the report also. So who is releasing it? It is actually the International Telecommunications Union. And what is this kind of index is used for? This index is actually based on 5 pillars. 5 pillars are there, 5 criteria are there, we can say. And based on the 5 criteria, they are actually analyzing the different countries of the world, and they are actually arranging these different countries into 5 tiers also. For example, India is actually in the first tier. India is actually performing really good. That's the report is saying. So India is actually in the first tier, and there are 5 tiers. So every countries are classified into 5 different tiers. And as I said, India comes in the first tier, and India is performing really good. And India is one of the role models, of course. So this report, which is actually praising India, is actually important for us. Right, it's actually important from the perspective of UPSC also. And there were multiple questions asked in the UPSC in the cybersecurity region recently. So this report automatically becomes important because it is placing India. Right. So what are the major highlights of the report? We'll understand. Before that, the 5 different pillars. UPSC may not ask you the different pillars of a foreign report, but still we just understand about the different terms and all. First of all, the legal. The first pillar is actually legal. If there is actually proper legal laws and regulations in place, and then if there is actually proper technical institutions are there or not, if there is actually proper organizational framework, like who has to do what, who has to do what, who has to deal with what, who will coordinate what things. So if there is actually proper organizational structure, and then if there is actually proper capacity developments, if training institutes, universities, proper schools are there, proper training is there, all those things will be dealt in capacity development. And then last but not the least, cooperation. That is, if the country is actually having proper coordination or cooperation with different other countries, different other international agencies, etc. If a country is actually performing in all 5 different pillars of the particular index, that country will be dealt as a role model country, and that country can be placed in the tier 1 category also. So what is the highlight of this particular report? One of the highlight of the report regarding India is that India is actually one of the role model countries of the world regarding cybersecurity. That is the thing we have to understand. That is the most important thing we have to understand. And not just India, including India, there are 46 countries. They were actually included in the tier 1. That is the most important, most performing countries we can say. So these other things which the report is actually highlighting is that definitely the different parts of the world are getting to know the importance of the cybersecurity, and everyone is actually improving in the particular aspect. And one such region which is actually showing huge improvement is actually Africa. Right. So you have to understand that whatever thing which is dealing with Africa is actually very most important with India, with UPSC, of course, because every UPSC question in the prelims, you're finding a question later with some kind of map-based questions, pair-based questions, match the following. Multiple questions are actually asked in the UPSC prelims. And in the UPSC mains also, to deal with this, to deal with the content of the African nation is extremely important, because you will get at least 1 or 2 questions. You may get in some, maybe in GS paper 1 or in GS paper 3, of course, GS paper 2, international relations, somewhere you will be writing about Africa for sure. So whenever you hear about the continent, you don't have to deal with certain countries individually in the African continent. But when you hear the African continent as such, please make sure that you get the data for revision. So the African continent exactly is actually show huge levels of improvement. So that is explicitly mentioned in the as the highlight of this particular report. And we have to understand that most countries are actually either in the tier 3 or tier 4 category, which is on the lower categories, and they are showing huge growth expansions are there. Their technologies are improving, but they're not up to the mark. So they have to be really cautious. They have to be really careful also. That is the report is actually saying. So what is the most important highlight? It's about India. Is that India is one of the role models of this global cyber security arena. Right. And the last thing we have to understand about this cybersecurity index is that what are the different concerns which they are actually raising. Very normal logical things which they are raising. For example, the threats when the digital world is increasing, when the blockchain technology, the crypto, cryptography industry is actually increasing, automatically the threats are also increasing. Normally, it's a normal assumption. We can say, even if we don't read the report, even if we don't know the summary of the report, we can simply write these kind of things. It's normal logical assumptions. So there are a lot of different points which we write in the UPSC exam which are logical. You don't have to read the report. You know what is in the report. So about the threats, there is a lot of threats are increasing. For example, they are talking about ransomwares. For example, like we told the last to that class, that there were actually ransomware attack in India and the global level also. That is some virus will attack our computer which is connected to the internet and all. They will, when we open the computer, they will simply say that you have to transfer $1,000 to this particular account. If you transfer that, we will give the access of the computer back. Otherwise, it is permanently gone. So these kind of ransomware attacks are actually given. That is hijacking the access of the computer and saying that if only you give ransom, we will give you access back. Ransomware attack. Then different kind of cyber breaches are definitely there. Like we already mentioned about the Kudamkulam attack actually. Cyber attack actually happened on the operations of the Kudamkulam plant. And then we also need a lot of human resource also, skilled human resource also, which is actually not up to the mark recently. That is what the report is highlighting. And then shortage of fund also. That is also highlighted by the reports in the recent times. And they say that we have to build the awareness, we have to increase the awareness, the training, etc. And there are a lot of agreements in place, but they are not practical. That is what the report is actually saying. And it is actually suggesting that the different, the different industries, the different universities, all of them have to come together. Then only we can actually overcome these kind of challenges. That is what they are saying. Now, I told you this is the last thing of the last aspect of this particular topic of Global Cybersecurity Index. Why I am giving you this slide is that we spoke about International Telecommunication Union, which is actually one of the 15 specialized agencies of the United Nations. So what are the other agencies? You have to just keep in mind. I'm just reading it out. You don't have to by heart these things, but if you're consistently studying or reading or preparing for the UPSC for at least 1 year, all of these things will be automatically in your brain. Like if I tell you the word that is, for example, International Atomic Energy Agency, or if I say International Energy Agency, or if I say World Trade Organization, or United Nations Environment Program, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Control, none of these are specialized agencies. World Trade Organization is not a UN specialized agency. So there are areas, gray areas where we get extremely confused, but it is extremely tricky also. So make sure that you understand which are the 15 specialized agencies of the United Nations framework. So I'm just giving you a brief list. So just reading out the names only, I'm not giving, it's actually not that relevant also for the UPSC perspective to understand what exactly these organizations do, unless it is the 100th anniversary of United Nations. So what are the different agencies? We know there is FAO, that is Food and Agriculture Organization. The name itself suggests what they do. The next thing is International Civil Aviation Organization. Civil Aviation Organization, that is they dealing with the civil aviation, the flights and all. Then International Fund for Agricultural Development. Again, agricultural development. International Labor Organization. They have got a lot of different conventions in which India is also party to. They deal with different kinds of welfare measures and how the employees should, how the employers should treat the employees, etc. And it was actually just a couple of days back only, you must have heard about the sad demise of the one person, that is actually one woman who was a very young woman who was working in an IT firm. So it actually sparked a huge debate whether how the working hours should be. Like a lot of people were criticizing some people, who were talking about excessive working hours. But you have to understand that you have to find a balance. It depends on different people how these people can work. One person may be able to work 14, 15 hours, like Infosys founder Krishnamurthy actually said, Sir Krishnamurthy also said, Narayan Murthy, sorry, Murthy sir also said. But some people may not be able to work like 14 hours, like he said. So it is actually varying based on the capacities of the individual. Right. So that person was definitely stretched over the limit, and she finally succumbed to that tiredness and fatigue and all. So these labor-related issues are definitely a hot topic, especially for the mains and the prelims also. So labor organization, then there is, and you know the importance of monetary fund. We study economics. The basic concept are World Bank, IMF, what is IMF, how IMF tranches are being used, so etc. like that. So make sure we go through that particular topic. Then International Maritime Organization, though you know the word maritime, so ocean related stuff. And then International Telecommunication Union, which publishes cybersecurity index like that. Then UNESCO is there. UNESCO means educational, scientific and cultural organization. And then UNIDO is there, which is United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Then UN Tourism, WTO is there, but this WTO is not World Trade Organization, but World Tourism Organization, UN Tourism, World Tourism Organization. Then UPU, that is Universal Postal Union, right? Universal Postal Union. WHO is there, World Health Organization. Then World Intellectual Property Organization, Intellectual Property Organization. And the last two are World Meteorological Organization, related with the climatological data and all. Then the World Bank Group. So it is the 15th one, the World Bank Group. So normally sometimes we say that there are actually 17 institutions within the UN, specialized agencies. Why? Because the World Bank Group itself has 3 different organizations, sub-organizations. So these two extra counted as 16 and 17. So within the World Bank we have IBRD, that is the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. The world itself justifies what it does. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is under the World Bank. Then IDA, that is the International Development Association, and IFC, that is International Finance Corporation. These 3 bodies are working under the World Bank Group. So these are the important economical aspects. So whenever you studying the World Bank Group, whenever you hear the word IBRD or International Development Association, International Finance Corporation, you have to understand that this is under the World Bank Group of Consortium. It's a consortium. It's a group of agencies under the World Bank. So these are the 15 different specialized agencies of the United Nations. I hope it is clear.